lost in the forest before. She lay back, her face upturned to the sky, wondering at the flocks of rooks that circled and cawed, and then she fell asleep. It was a cry that woke the woodcutter's wife, a thin, plaintive, hungry cry, a sad, abandoned baby's cry. She sat up with a shiver. Everything was deathly still. All she could hear was the sharp, clipped caws of the rooks and the high-pitched squeak of bats. The baby's cry had been a dream, she reassured herself. She scrambled to her feet, feeling wobbly and chilled to the bone. She scooped up her basket, ready to go home, when she saw a huge, rambling, shambling, prickly, thorny wall of brambles, positively glistening with the fattest, juiciest blackberries she had ever seen. The woodcutter's wife rushed forward. How could she have missed it? She began to pick as fast as she could, so fast that the thorns pricked her fingers and tore at her arms, and her blood ran into the juice. There seemed no end to the profusion of blackberries, and soon her basket was full to the brim. Her fingers were quite purple, her legs were scratched, and her skirts were all tangled in the thorns. When at last she tried to scramble out, she found that she was trapped. She struggled this way and that in her efforts to get free, but seemed to be caught fast. She was beginning to despair when she heard a faint cry. It was the same sound which had awoken her from her dream, a thin, plaintive, hungry cry, a sad, abandoned baby's cry. "Good heavens!" exclaimed the woman. "What's this?" She pushed her way deeper into the thorns, and there, right in the very middle of the prickles and blackberries, cradled in the briar, was a tiny little baby girl. Her skin was as black as midnight, her lips like crushed damsons, and her tightly curled hair shone like threads of black gold. When the baby looked up into the woman's face, her eyes glistened like blackberries. "Oh, my goodness!" exclaimed the woodcutter's wife. "You poor little thing!" And she scooped up the infant and popped her into her large apron pocket. Miraculously, the thorns didn't scratch her as she turned to find her way out, and the brambles seemed to part as she backed unhindered into the open. Although she looked about her and even called out, no one appeared to claim the child. "Well, my little berry, I'll just have to take you home," she murmured. The woodcutter and his wife loved their foundling child and named her Blackberry Blue. The years went by, and Blackberry Blue grew into the most beautiful girl anyone had ever seen. The woodcutter enjoyed making wooden toys for his little daughter, and the woodcutter's wife loved plaiting her black curls and twisting them with acorns and leaves. And Blackberry Blue grew up the happiest of children, so loved and nurtured, becoming more lovely with every day that passed. Each year, the woodcutter's wife took Blackberry Blue back to the great bramble patch where she had found her, and, as if to say thank you, the brambly bush was always covered in blackberries, which they collected till their baskets were overflowing. Then they would go home and bake blackberry pies to sell in the market and take to the palace. Meanwhile, the sad king had indeed married again, and his second wife already had a son of her own called Wolf, who had also come to live with them in the palace. Although the new queen was certainly beautiful, the woodcutter's wife heard whispered gossip that she was a witch. Why did every room seem to grow